Hola, and welcome back to the Live Podcast, where we learn, inspire, flourish, and evolve together on the journey to our most authentic selves. I'm your host, Dr. C. Today, we're having a conversation that every man and every person who loves a man needs to hear. We often hear the phrase silent killer when it comes to our health. But what happens when the silence is broken by a routine checkup that changes everything? We are going to be exploring the journey of navigating prostate cancer, looking at it through the lens of our physical, emotional, and social wellness. To guide us through this, I am honored to be joined by Rod Spratling Sr., a true testament of resilience. Rod is a husband, a father, and an active athlete whose life took an unexpected turn after his diagnosis. He's here to take us beyond the medical jargon and share his lived experience, from the fear of the unknown to the difficulty of breaking the news to his children, and ultimately the resilience it took to get back on the softball field just weeks after surgery. Rod's story is proof that a diagnosis is not a defeat. It's a call to action. Whether you are navigating a similar journey or just need a reminder to prioritize your health, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. Hola, Rod, and welcome to the Live Podcast.
Glad to join you, Wanda. I appreciate the offer and the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. This is a very important story to tell. Thank you so much for your courage and your willingness to share your story. So to start, when most people hear the words prostate cancer, their minds immediately go to a place of fear. Before you were diagnosed, what was your understanding of prostate cancer?
My basic understanding was that it mostly affected older men, but as I aged, I started reading up about prostate cancer and the potential problems, and I was near the age range where it is more important that it be checked. So I normally have my annual physicals. Of course, they would take the PSA, but I noticed my numbers kept increasing. And so I said, well, I think it's time for us to go to another level. And my doctor recommended a urologist. He took some initial tests and said, I think we need you to come back in because I think we see something, and went back in and I did biopsy, and that's where they found three areas of cancer out of 12 that they normally check.
Wow.
So that's how I got to where I had to take care of it.
This is from your lived experience. What it really felt like when you received the diagnosis. A lot of people talk about kind of going deaf, right? And not hearing or not understanding anything other than you have cancer. Can you just walk us through and tell us what that moment was like for you?
Well, yeah, first of all, when I knew I had to have the biopsy, that kind of signaled to me that there was a possibility that there might be cancer, but still, you think that, yeah, I'm okay because I'm a healthy person. And that's pretty much the way that I felt. And they'll get the biopsy results and they'll all be negative. And so in the back of my mind, that's what I was thinking, that I would be okay. But also it said, what if the numbers come back positive? What do I do from that point on? And so I kind of prepared myself for that potential, but still holding out hope that everything.
Did you struggle with the fact, because you are a very active individual, running, playing softball, very active physically. So were you struggling with the fact that I've pretty much done everything I should be doing, and here I am possibly facing, a cancer diagnosis? How did you wrestle with that?
Because my numbers kept going up, I kind of set myself up to think that it could be worse than I imagined. And so that's what was in the back of my mind, that there's that great possibility that even though I think I'm healthy, I do healthy things, I had to have the biopsy. And prior to going back to the doctor, I could have checked the results online, but I didn't want to do that. And the doctor kind of recommended that I didn't check in until, I went back to get the actual results. So it was a situation where, yeah, I'm healthy, but we know that this can happen to almost anybody. And
Yeah.
I'm in that group of Black men that these things are kind of prevalent. And so I kind of prepared myself for the worst, hoping for the best though.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the most difficult things about this disease is that it's often called a silent killer. What do you believe is the single biggest misconception men have about this, whether it's about the treatment or the recovery?
I think that the biggest thing is that um, we just think that we're invincible, that it's not going to happen to me. So once I was diagnosed, I held off on telling my extended family and friends until the procedure was all done because, as you pointed out earlier, people have this perception that as soon as you say the big C or cancer, that's not good. And so I didn't want to uh, hurt any of my family by letting them know. But it was around June time frame and graduations, high school, college, weddings, etc. I didn't want to spoil anybody's excitement during that time.
Wow. So you've been through the diagnosis, the treatment, and now you're in recovery. And we all heal differently, but we all face moments of deep struggle. I know you mentioned not necessarily sharing it with your extended family right away, but as you reflect back on your journey, what was your most difficult moment? And what was the turning point for you?
At the time, the most difficult moment was having to tell my daughter and son. And my daughter is here in the Detroit area with us, but she came by the house one day and we explained to her what had happened. But the biggest for me was having to tell my son, who lives in Florida, and I tried to tell him what was happening with the cancer diagnosis, but I couldn't because I was crying. So my wife had to tell him what was going on and enforce to him that we'll do whatever the doctor says, and that doctor indicated I'm a healthy person and that I should be okay. But after we explained to him what was going on and the prognosis was good, we all kind of settled down and moved on.
Yeah, I can imagine telling your son, possibly thinking, how do I prevent him from having to go through this as well?
Yes, exactly. I know he gets his annual checkups, but I think the important thing is that when he reaches or gets close to 40, that I'll reinforce to him that you need to make sure that your PSA numbers are checked and followed up if necessary. So, but also, I have many cousins, friends, uncles that fall up in my same age range. Oh, and they're just stressing to them the importance of keeping track of their health. But for them to look at me and say, "We thought you were, the best of health," and I
Yeah,
get the diagnosis that you've got prostate cancer, and so it's something that I needed to share.
right. And I think also role modeling for them that you do lead a active, healthy lifestyle, and that doesn't mean stop getting checked. That doesn't mean your annual physicals are obsolete. It actually means that that's part of your care, right? That's part of really making sure that you have a healthy lifestyle. Is what I'm hearing you say.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's pivot slightly because I want to talk about how you did it, right? For the person listening right now who is scared and overwhelmed, I want them to hear the practical things you learned. So if a listener just received this diagnosis, they're likely feeling completely overwhelmed. What is the very first practical step you recommend that they take just to get their bearings?
First thing is don't be shocked. Prepare yourself for what what the possibilities are that you do have prostate cancer. But in addition to that, you talk to family and friends, and there's so much information out there for people to to check and see what the options are. What's best for one person may not be best for another person.
Yeah.
So evaluate where you are, look up all the information that you can, and make a decision based on what you feel is best for you. And there are several options. Surgery, which is what I had. You can also go through chemo or radiation. And for me, after I was diagnosed, I did talk to some relatives that had had prostate cancer surgery. In one case, one of my cousins had had prostate removed like 26 years ago. So that was a good point for me to know that he and I are the same age. So if he's, still kicking around 26 years later, another friend 12 years ago. So it was important to get as much information as you can, because there may be people that you feel more comfortable with. It's important that you have somebody that you can trust and fall back on to help you get through this diagnosis. So when the doctor first told me that yeah, there was cancer, yeah, I'll tell you that I cried, and I think the doctor knew that I was going to cry because he had the tissue ready for me as soon as he said, yeah, we found 3 spots that were cancerous. So my wife was with me when we got the initial diagnosis, and she's also a physician's assistant. A lot of the concerns that I may have had, I was able to discuss with her, and we came to the conclusion that for my lifestyle, that it was best for me to have the surgery so that I wouldn't have to worry about it coming back. It's been just over 5.5 months now that I had the surgery, and I went back to the doctor in early part of December, and everything was good. And so I don't have to go back until June, which is 6 months. And then I think 6 months after that, and then it's yearly. And that may be for whatever length of time individual.
Yeah. And first of all, I'm so happy to hear that you are recovering and that you're doing very well. So that's great news.
Yes.
And it's also great news for our listeners to know that this isn't a death sentence, right? There are options, there are opportunities, and many have survived prostate cancer. But it is about early detection and making sure that you're making informed decisions on the
Yes.
options for either surgery, chemo, whatever works for that individual.
Yes.
And you mentioned your support system, and this isn't a journey anyone should be taking alone, but it could be hard to ask for help.
Yes.
And it could be hard for someone to learn how to navigate their own support system. So you spoke about how you leaned on your support system. But what advice do you have for partners and family members on how they give support in a way that's helpful and not overwhelming?
Well, the bottom line for me is that you can't be silent about this. And I mean, that's for any medical issue. You have to be able and willing to share with your family and or support group to say, this is something I've got to go through, and I want and need your support in dealing with this. And if there's no family members or close friends that can help you get through this, I'm sure that there's other support groups out there. Uh, there's always medical events, free events that pop up throughout almost any city where you can have free health checkups. And in a lot of cases, there are specific events directed towards men health fairs and things like that. So whether it's men or women, there's plenty of opportunities to be able to have your health checked on a frequent basis. And there's so much information out there that individuals can look at and help them make informed decisions if there's no one else that they feel comfortable with.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is not putting the onus just on the individual going through the diagnosis. I think one of the things you also are trying to mention here is as partners, as family members, we need to educate ourselves as well, right? And in order to truly be supportive, we also need to understand the disease, the diagnosis, and how to be a good support system for those that we love and care. So I see that, both ways, right? The individual going through it, but also the support system fully informing themselves and educating themselves. So thank you for that, because I don't think that we kind of think about that a lot. We tend to hear something and then go, oh, but what does that mean? And so we put the onus on the individual going through this traumatic experience, thinking about their own vitality and longevity, and then kind of having to educate others during that time. So, yeah. So, a lot of men struggle with fear, whether it's fear of treatment, side effects, or just fear of losing a part of themselves. How did you push past that fear and start advocating for your own health?
For me, I don't think it was so much of fear. It was just um, I know I needed to do this, and yeah, there may have been a fear factor initially, which I think is it happens with anybody when you're diagnosed with any type of medical issue. Yeah, there's fear that it's going to creep in, and for me, I knew the fear was there because, like I said, when the doctor first told me that I had cancer in 3 places, like that was
Wow.
like kicking me in the stomach, saying,
Yeah.
I'm Rod. It's like this can't be happening to me. But the fear factor was there initially, but w- once I got the tears out, it's like I'm not going to allow this cancer to take me out. And as I mentioned, my wife is a physician's assistant, so any questions that I may have overlooked, she knew to ask the medical staff. And they gave us all the right answers. And so fear for me was probably just worried about what would happen if something terrible happened as a result of this diagnosis. I read a lot after being diagnosed and saw a video of how the procedure would go. So after looking at the videos and checking the results of the surgeon that performed the surgery and seeing the positive outcomes, it's like, okay, I don't have anything to worry about. It's just do what the doctors tell me to do and continue to follow up after the procedure, because that's one of the most important things, that after the procedure, I have to follow up with what the doctors recommend. And it really is important that you follow up with what the doctor recommends, because I know of people that unfortunately did not follow up with what the doctors recommended. And unfortunately, they're no longer here. So just hearing things like that and knowing that some people did not follow up, that was definitely a motivating factor. And as you and I have pointed out, I still wanted to play softball, still wanted to bike and run and participate in half marathons, 5Ks and 10Ks and things like that. So I was not going to allow this to hamper what I could do after recovery, because I really wanted to get back to playing softball. And
You had priorities.
yeah, and so I jokingly told people that I was injured reserve for 3 weeks. So after 3 weeks, I was back to playing softball. And part of that was because I did what the doctors told me to do. And yeah, so after 3 weeks, I was back playing softball. But even though I was able to play softball, I still had a minor concern that something could go wrong. But because running the bases and things like that and chasing fly balls and ground balls, I was kind of a little concerned that something might rip. But my doctor said, if you go out there and play, you have to evaluate yourself and make sure that if you feel something, then stop. And so I didn't feel anything, and I went out there and played. And again, it's 5 months later. I'm still ready to go. Looking forward to playing again in 2026.
I know that's right. I know that's right. Claim that. And what a difference it makes when you're fully informed is what I'm hearing.
Yes,
I feel that the education you received, the education that your family also absorbed, gave you power, and it empowered you to know that there is a recovery pathway and that you can get back to your normal life, And so I love the advice of following the doctor's orders because I want not to follow the doctor's order, right? I'm starting to feel better. I'm fine. I don't need to take that anymore, right? And it had made a difference in your journey as well. So you're now on the other side of recovery, thank God. Um, Looking back, how has this entire journey maybe changed you, or what's the biggest long-term transformation you've seen in yourself?
I think it's just a reminder that our health is important and we have to get our annual checkups. And if you as an individual feel that something's not right with the results you're seeing from the doctor, get a second or third opinion. And you have to advocate for yourself because even though there's medical professionals out there, if you feel that something doesn't feel quite right, you have to let your primary care doctor know that, okay, I'm not feeling well, or I feel something that's unique, and I need to get it checked out. So the thing is advocate for yourself, and you have to be aware of your body because we can all have little things that may irritate us and say, yeah, it'll go away, or I'm good and it'll clear up on its own. But there are some issues that tend to stick out, and I need to have this checked out.
Right. And I believe that our listeners are hearing a very pivotal piece of advice. First is educate yourself, understand your body, advocate for your own health. You should be empowered to advocate for your health. You should be empowered to get second and third and fourth opinions. You should be empowered to say, I understand you're saying I'm fine, but I don't feel fine. Something is wrong, and let's keep looking. I think, we tend to, if the doctor says you're fine, everything is okay, we tend to go, okay, well, if you say so, it must be true. But the reality is that, you're the one feeling it. You know your body better than most. You're with yourself 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so, who better to say, there's a problem here and we need to investigate it? I love that piece of advice. And I really hope our listeners take that with them as they continue to care for their health. So, Rod, I want to sincerely thank you for sharing your journey, as this requires immense courage for you to do this. And it's exactly the kind of transparency that saves lives and makes others feel less alone. So I truly appreciate you trusting this platform with your story today. And I know you wanted to make sure that the masses understand that this is not a death sentence. This is a wake up call for sure. It's survivable, and we all can be empowered by your story to know that being informed, staying empowered, and being an advocate for our own health is truly life changing.
Exactly. Very well stated, Wanda. Very well
Thank you.
stated.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. And Happy New Year. I'm looking forward to 2026 and all the 5Ks, 10Ks, and softball games you'll win.
I'm looking forward to it too, Wanda. As a matter of fact, I may have an indoor batting practice session on Monday.
All right.
So I'm looking forward to that. And after I'm done with this interview, I may decide to get out and do one of my daily walks. And the weather's still cold, but I learn how to dress for the environment and get in 3 to 5 miles and
Wow.
continue my healthy regimen.
Ooh, well, that is ambitious in this cold weather. I applaud you. I will be inside while you're outside.
Okay.
Take good care of yourself, Rod.
Okay, you do the same one.
Rod's honesty and vulnerability are a true gift. His story is a powerful reminder that while we can't always control the challenges that life puts in our path, we have so much power in how we respond, how we heal, and how we use our story to light the way for others. As we close out this conversation, I want to highlight 3 critical takeaways from Rod's journey that we can all apply to our own lives. First, trust your instincts and advocate for yourself. Rod mentioned that despite feeling healthy and active, he noticed that his numbers were trending up and knew that it was time to go to another level of testing. He reminded us that if we feel something isn't right, you must advocate for yourself, even if it means getting a second or third opinion. Education is a family affair. Rod highlighted that support systems aren't just there for comfort, they need to be informed. Whether it's a partner like Rod's wife who helped navigate the medical questions, or extended family, we must educate ourselves to truly be a supportive resource. A diagnosis is not the end. As Rod powerfully stated, this is not a death sentence. Through early detection and commitment to recovery, he was back to playing softball just weeks after surgery. His resilience shows us that we can face fear without letting it paralyze our future. If you have been putting off a checkup, or if there is a man in your life who needs a gentle nudge, let this episode be your wake-up. Awareness combined with action saves lives. Until next time, keep on learning, stay inspired, continue to flourish, and never stop evolving. I'm your host, Dr. C, and this is the Life Podcast.